Jennifer here from Belladonna's Botanicals, and I wanted to talk about something today. And because this is a trend I've noticed. I mean, yes, it exists in larger humanity, but I really have to ask, why are occultists and fellow witches so effing rude to each other? Um, I noticed this on multiple accounts, not just from things I witness, but also the comments I get on various things, usually my YouTube videos, occasionally social media, and just sometimes I have some really unpleasantly rude customers. And the whole thing here is like, I wonder, why are we so freaking rude to each other? Great question. You know me, I like to tackle some of these broader community topics because I know I am not alone in dealing with this. So it's the concept here that kind of like it blows my mind a little, and I tend to think about it as, we'll just say, occultists, which is whatever your practice is, whatever your tradition, whatever your skill level. Like, we have enough working against us from the outside world that maybe this stupid petty BS infighting and like looking down your nose at each other could just, maybe stop. Like, there's people I don't like in the occult, and I wouldn't even recommend them to cut your grass, but generally speaking, I just don't care enough to like devote my time to, seeking them out and leaving rude comments or having my minions, go after them and stuff like that. But the thing that kind of gets me on it, and I'm going to put one caveat here. Yes, there are plenty of unscrupulous scammers and BS artists, BS gurus, false prophets, all that stuff in the occult. It's like that anywhere. And so that's its own thing. That shouldn't be the assumption, though, that everyone is, rude, be a fake, a scammer, whatever. I've been in business. I started Belladonna's Botanicals was the rebrand. My LLC is Restorative Aromatics. I started this in 2018. So I've been doing this for almost 6 years now. And it always blows my mind just when like I'm treated less than for, and it's often for other people's lack of understanding on things sometimes. Now, number one, I hand make, with the exception of things that I have collaborators who make things for me. And I don't make crystals. I'm sorry. Talk to the earth about that. I always find it funny when people leave like shitty reviews on crystals. I'm like, well, I'm sorry that ruby disappointed you so much, but like maybe you want to take that up with Mother Earth. I just, but I digress. So it's, and I will give a huge shout out to all my wonderful customers who are amazing and whatnot, but there seems to be a few things that are lacking when it comes to the occult spectrum. We're lacking seriously in nuance and discernment, and everyone takes everything so freaking literally. It blows my mind. And no, my mind didn't like blow away in the wind or whatnot, or get blown. Literally blows my mind that, some things are, people take things so literally that, and then wonder why, it doesn't work. I'm like, well, sorry, I can't really, make you a potion to turn you into a shape-shifting Wendigo werewolf that can switch genders, because that's a popular one too. Mermaid and whatnot. Sorry, I'm going to be selling you bullshit at that point. Like, sure, I can, throw some stuff in a jar and call it whatever. And there are people, unscrupulous people, who will do that, charge you a lot of money, and you've got your shape-shifting werewolf goo, and that does nothing. So that's one problem. The other problem is when expectations. I think that's the key thing I want to talk about. is expectations. There is a very big difference between what people like me handcraft into, whether it's ritual oils, incense, powders. I have colleagues who do ritual jewelry, sprays and waters, bath products, anything, and candles, anything in that spectrum. It takes a lot of knowledge and it takes a lot of expertise. I didn't just wake up one day and start throwing shit in bottles. I'm highly educated. And it's insulting when people are like, well, this is clearly an inferior product or blah, 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 because it doesn't smell cinnamony enough. I'm like, sweetie, if your entire magical practice is based upon this isn't cinnamony smelling enough, you're going to fail. Or you don't know what you're doing. Or I'd suggest finding something a little less taxing on the brain. Just, go to a place, stand up, sit down, kneel, repeat some prayers, sing some songs. You see what I'm getting at here. The occult's probably not for you if you're that petty, because there is a variation. And that is the beauty of it. Everyone, and I've talked about this topic a number of times over the years, but I'm going to talk about it again because, algorithms and, people need to hear the message. It's each one of us has a different level of knowledge, of expertise, access to materials, and and we come from different traditions, different practices. So that is something to consider. You could take 100 witches and have us all design, I don't know, let's just say a money magic oil or a love spell oil. And we would all do it in slightly different ways. Does that mean none of all of those love spell oils are, this one isn't like this one, so therefore it doesn't work or it's inferior? No, it's just different. So how something like that works, I'm just going to grab whatever happens to be closest to me to talk about. So what is this? This is the mind control spell oil. So and I will shake it up a little bit. So with this, I'm just using this as an example because it was the closest thing that I reached. So when you have a magical product like this is not mass produced in a, facility in China somewhere and sold, in a Botanica or, your general run of the mill occult shops that just carry, like the typical things that you'll find in most occult shops. I am more on the niche, individual, handmade trail. That is me all the way. It's not to say I don't go and buy, let's see, what do I have nearby? I bought these on Amazon. They are the Coventry Creations actually makes some decent candles, but I also know that when I buy these are just candles. There's really nothing. I mean, sure, they say they've got intentions. This one's dreams come true, and the other one's blessing something. They've got intentions to it, and that is what it is. But I honestly feel nothing when I pick up these candles. I know that I have to do something to these candles in order for the ritual, the spell, whatever to work. I will be carving my name in it. I'll be carving sigils. I'll be carving words into it. I will anoint them with oils. I'll anoint them with herbs. I will put powders on them. I will burn incense while I'm doing the ritual and candle. This on its own, and I love their candles, don't get me wrong, is what it is. When you get something that is put together, and this is, and I'm going by not just my own opinion, my self-inflated opinion of, what I do. I am highly educated, but, I also have that wonderful imposter syndrome that I'm like, I'm a complete piece of crap and this is all bullshit. Anyways, outside of that. So when someone makes an oil, when you're buying something that is handmade, handcrafted by a practitioner, each element of this oil is charged and activated and part to be used for whatever the intention is. So does one element make it inferior, or the lack of one thing make it inferior? No, because everyone makes it different. So I don't know offhand what is in this, and it's too dark and I don't have my glasses on, although I did get a really awesome pair of new glasses, which anyways, story for another time. So in an oil like this one doesn't have crystals. So you would have, some oils have crystals. So you've got the correspondence and the energetics of that crystal. So that's one part of it. You've got the herbal correspondences. There's another part of it. The carrier oil, that there are some that have, you know, their own magical properties to them. Excuse me, like I would probably use, if I was making a money oil, I'd probably use avocado oil, because to me, I associate that more with as being like a base for like a money oil than say sweet almond oil or fractionated coconut oil. Now for something love, I would probably do olive oil or sweet almond. I'd steer away from sweet almond just because people have so many nut allergies. So I do use it in some things, but so you've got that. And then these all have either, you know, essential oils or synthetic fragrance oils. Now, to take a little sidebar on synthetic fragrance oils, they're in there as symbolic. And not for nothing, not all plants and things produce essential oils, or if they do, they are extremely expensive. Like, okay, 2 milliliters of agarwood essential oil is about $200. Most people are going to be, if they're using agarwood, are going to be using synthetics, or you're going to be paying a whole lot of money for this oil if it's got actual agarwood in it. It's very expensive. Now, you can get cheap knockoff stuff on Amazon that is, you know, probably a drop of actual agarwood and cut with other things, or you can get synthetic fragrance oils, but you can use those symbolically. Not everything produces an essential oil. I know this because I'm a certified aromatherapist. And some things, sometimes I have to use a substitute for safety reasons. I am not going to put an ounce of cinnamon or peppermint essential oil in a bath product because they are so dermacaustic. If you dumped enough cinnamon, you would get some pretty bad burns with not a whole lot of those. Essential oils are so potent, so you can get, like, I mean, from certain ones, like, sorry, I'm going to nerd out here for a minute. So certain essential oils like bergamot, I'm going to put a little caveat here, you can get it FCF free. So there's something in bergamot, also angelica root, and maybe rue essential oils called furanocoumarins. And what those are is they are phototoxic. So if you put bergamot essential oil on your skin, even if it's in carrier oil or something like that, and it's not furanocoumarin free, and you will go out in the sun for a couple hours, you might end up with 3rd-degree burns. I've seen pictures of the burns that these cause. It is no joke. So I am a safety conscious person. I do not want you to get injured using any of these things. So if this doesn't smell cinnamony enough, it's probably because I put in a safe amount of cinnamon essential oil for that entire batch. Can I add cinnamon fragrance oil to amplify the smell? Sure. But, you know, so sometimes you have to think of things. And here's the thing. I know more than you because I've educated myself, because I have numerous certifications, because I've taken numerous classes, workshops, and so many things, and I continue to do that as well. So what you have to assume that, okay, not everyone's a scammer. Maybe don't approach everyone like they're a scammer or like don't know what they're doing and whatnot. And just assume the fact that I fucking know more than you about making some of these things. And I'm not being facetious. I'm not being rude. I'm not being egotistical here. I've educated myself. I've spent tens of thousands of dollars on educating myself over the past almost 6 years, actually longer. Because it started way before I started I started my certification stuff way before I founded this company. So I've got my years of training. I'm also a Reiki master. I know how to work with energy. I know how to push the energy and intention in there. So not only do you have the magical correspondences of the essential oils, the fragrances, crystals, herbs, and all that, you've got the intention on it. added to it as well. And it's not just I put it on the label and then woohoo, it's got an intention now. There's a lot of mental work, of ritual work. Like, I don't know how well you can see it. I have a whole battery of candles and shit I have in this room. This is my workspace room where I create most things, unless I use the kitchen, which is right next to my main altar area anyways. But I'm always keeping like the magical energy active in here. This is what people who do this professionally do. I'm not just throwing shit in a bottle and selling you stuff. And I will say the one question that irritates the out of me the most is this genuine? Is this real? Is this blah, blah, blah? I'm like, fuck off. Like, no, I'm selling you fake shit on the internet. Yeah, I just can't even with it sometimes. But it's just, we come into things and we have these assumptions that, you know, I used a drop of this yesterday and I didn't win the lottery today. So your products suck. Or I base my magic on one single thing because I'm too stupid to like realize it's a holistic approach. I'm sorry. I just deal with this stuff a lot. It gets under my skin sometimes. But there is, and you can tell too. Like, I know when I was just in the Botanica the other day. And yeah, all the mass-produced like cornstarch powder with some colorant and maybe some scent and herbs. I'm like, that's real to you? Sure. It's like basically looks like some colored baby powder in a little vial. I mean, that to me is because it's that mass-produced type stuff. Now, some places do make their own stuff in the stores and whatnot. Hey, hats off to you. That's great. But a lot of the mass-produced stuff is, guess what? Mass-produced in a factory by not people like me, who are not people who are magic practitioners. So Joe Schmo, minimum wage, employee in a Chinese sweatshop making pennies an hour. Do you think that product is really going to have a lot of magic in it naturally? Do you? It doesn't. It's not to say you can't use it for your magic. You're just going to have to add your energy and intention to it. And the thing, I believe I forgot to start to talk about this a little bit earlier, but the thing for me is, and how I know my products are powerful, is other occult practitioners and experts and authors tell me this. Like, I can't tell you how many times someone has been like, holy crap, what do you do to this? This is like completely charged and activated and ready to go. Like, what kind of rituals and spells and stuff did you do here? I'm like, I just, have my process for making things, and that's what it is. And they're like, so I go to the metaphysical store and I get those little Anna Rivas oils, and they're just nothing. They're just inert and stuff. I'm like, yes, you have to add the extra step. I'm quoting someone on this. You have to add the extra step of adding your magical intention stuff to it. Anna Riva isn't making all that stuff herself. It's made in a manufacturing facility somewhere. So it's not made on a sacred space. It's not made in a sacred space or a ritual space. And, and it's something, honestly, I've had to think about, like, as this business grows, am I going to reach a point in which I can't handle the demand myself and have to, move to some of the manufacturing to, say a factory or storing things in a warehouse and stuff like that. How to do that and not lose the magical potency of it. And there are ways to do this if you are educated, crafty, and know what you're doing. Because probably what I would do at that point is, add some, I'd probably add some sigils to things and maybe some extra activation stuff just to keep it, on the up and up. Or if it's produced, then wherever it's stored, going there and, ritually charging and activating everything. I don't know. I'll cross that bridge when I get to it. But what I want to get back to is it blows my mind how rude people are to each other in this community. We're all doing our own thing here. We're all kind of technically on the same team. Just, different, so, or maybe it's more we're all playing the same game. We're just on, different teams. It's not like we have to be rivals and tear each other down and stuff like that. I see so much of it, and I've experienced so much of it over the years. There's so many people who are like, who are going to accuse you of being a content vulture or riding coattails or this, that, and the other thing. And occasionally that's true of some people, but not generally not the part and parcel. I'm like, at any given time, I can't really switch to because it's on the screen, but like any given time, I have a spreadsheet up here that's probably about, it tracks all the stuff I need to make for orders that I am out of stock of, that I'm almost out of stock of, and then all the new products that ideas, design, things I've had. Like, there's stuff I have had designed for 2 years now and have not had a chance to make yet. So, it's going through some of that process. It's insulting when people are like, oh, she's a content thief, or oh, blah, 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 she made this thing and I made this thing too. I'm like, congratulations, honey. You ain't the only person who ever made a Florida water soap or dragon's blood soap. Check your ego at the door, honey. But yeah, so there are some things that are common, like love spell oil, number one, that whatever, basic love spell oil. You've got hundreds of herbs and correspondences for things you could put in a love spell oil. I'd put in some rose quartz. If I wanted to be fancy, I'd put in I'd maybe put some kunzite in there, maybe some rhodochrosite, some carnelian to spice things up a little bit. Put some roses, jasmine, lavender. What else would I put? Cinnamon. I like cinnamon a lot because it's good for, it adds like acceleration, like speed to it. So yeah, that's probably what I put there. Essential oils. I probably put some rose because that's one of the highest frequency vibration essential oils. I put some rose, maybe a little bit more jasmine. I put something sultry in, maybe like some nag champa, something to give some spice to it. Cardamom's good, especially if you're looking for like some fidelity and commitment kind of things. So that's just off the top of my head. And I would use olive oil as a carrier oil. But you might do it differently because your traditions, your practice might have different correspondences. And for me, for some of the products I make, I do channel those things. And okay, love drawing oil is very common. I channel, like one of the things I made was a Lucifer's love drawing oil because I was working with Lucifer's who I work with usually on love and self-love related things. So, but yeah, there are some things that I've channeled or spirits that always are giving me ideas. My God, the spirit world likes to give me ideas. But I'm not going to get butthurt if someone else also makes a Lucifer's love drawing oil, because guess what? I'm probably not the only person that works with Lucifer for love and self-love and all that stuff. I'm not that special, and neither are you. Truth bombs by Jen. I'm a Gemini, so you know what you're getting into. But I find the level of rudeness and the attacks, like a lot of them are so petty. I'm like, there's a group of people. I'm not going to get into who they are because literally I just don't care at this point. But they are so grievously offended if anyone doesn't like them that it's like becomes their life mission to death curse all of them and have all their minions curse everyone because, oh, I don't like you. Or I used to like you and I don't like you anymore because, there's probably a reason for that. Now, there are extremes in any situation. If you're advocating, violence, unaliving people, that kind of stuff, no. The extremes, that sort of thing. But that's not the norm. So I can be judgmental. Hi, have we not met? We all can, but I think it's something to pause and consider is why are we treating each other so terribly when we're on the same team? Because we all gonna burn at we're all gonna burn at the stake together. Doesn't matter if you're a little, crystal witch, love and lighter, if you're an aesthetic witch, if you're a Satanist, if you are a Christian witch, if you're, and any pantheon, any cultural tradition, we're all gonna be burning we're all gonna be burning together. So doesn't matter whose, pantheon is better, whose practices are better, authentic, first, best, whatever. We're all gonna be on the same page there. So instead of fighting each other, how about we stop this shit? Because that is the number one problem in the world today is the divisiveness. It's manufactured divisiveness. And the only way to combat that is to opt out. Opt out of it. Opt out of the political divisiveness. Opt out of the whatever communal divisiveness and stuff like that. Because we are more connected than disconnected. We just have forgotten it. And it starts with just taking some time, having some common decency seems to have just gone out the window. It's how to ask a question, how to be like, hey, okay, so I've seen other types of oils like this. Yours seems a little different. Can you talk to me about this? Can you explain this? Or why did you do this instead of that? Not your product is inferior because it's not, full of raspberries or whatever. And I'm like, generally speaking, I've worked like brick and mortar retail before, and I firmly stand by this 100%. The customer is not always right. And that is some bullshit. And Amazon has created an elite army of over-entitled Karens who will just bitch until they get refunded. And Amazon will just refund them, either out of their money or your money, whatever. Same thing with Etsy. A lot of these ones will. I have very strict policies because I've had so many people abuse them. Like, oh, I bought this oil and it didn't work. I'm like, well, according to the tracking, it arrived yesterday at 3 p.m. So today it's 7:30 p.m. So it didn't. You didn't win the lottery in the past 12 hours. So it's the oil's fault, and you want a refund. Because I had people send things back where I'm like, you clearly used this for a ritual, and you're cheap ass piece of shit, and want a refund for the couple drops you needed for a ritual. That's just bad practice. Like screwing over other witches is just dumb. Like, and I mean, I've made a ton of videos on all the occult drama and wars. I'm like, it is just pointless. It is really pointless at this point. I just can't even sometimes. So, yeah, it's time to be kind. Be kind. Rewind. Sorry, I'm old. But it's maybe stop thinking the worst of everyone collectively. Don't get me wrong. There's some pretty heinous people out there. And I will point out when someone or a group is dangerous and needs to be avoided. But you know what? I can't live for you. You make your own decisions. If you want to follow that cult leader and drink the Kool-Aid, by all means. I could just say, hey, maybe don't drink that Kool-Aid. It's probably got some extra ingredients in there that aren't so great, actually. So it's time for us in the occult to just knock it off, to just stop. And it's so unnecessary. And I know I'm guilty of it, of the stuff sometimes myself, but I mean, generally speaking, I buy a lot of witchcraft products myself because sometimes I get tired of using my stuff. And sometimes I like to experience what other people make too. I want to see what your Hecate oil is like. Maybe it's slightly different than my Hecate oil. Because you can make a general purpose one, but maybe, your Hecate oil is specifically attuned to the underworld aspect or necromancy aspect of working with Hecate. So there's a lot of differences in there. It doesn't mean that my version is shitty and their version is better, or their version is shitty and mine is better. It's just a different interpretation of it. And I think a lot of this comes down to how freaking literally people take things. And Moon, what are you doing? I use crinkle cut paper in my pack orders and stuff. Moon likes to help me get it out of the box, or spill enough on the floor that she can make a nest out of it. Trust me, that doesn't get used in packing orders. But anyways, yeah. So Moon. Yeah, I'm talking to you. Mommy's trying to make a video. You want to come here? You want to come here? Come on up, Moon. You like to sit on my lap. Moon is a very snuggly cat in the wintertime. She usually sits on my left knee and just, stares menacingly at the computer too. Yes, she does. She's a good little girl. Corey gets all the attention, but Moon is a good little witchy poo. But anyways, so that's all I'm saying is that when you're looking at handmade witchy products, which, there's a lot out there. I mean, just look up, on Etsy or anything like that, or, some stores do a mix of it. And that's fine. Like, I mean, I have gigantic, I don't know if you can't see them from here, but I have like gigantic boxes of the little cone, the hem cone incense that you can literally get anywhere. But because sometimes it's just easier for me to light a cone and let it burn than like have to keep doing the loose incense. Also cheaper. But that again, cheaper is a thing. Expensive isn't always better. You can do witchcraft by just going in your kitchen and pulling shit out of your spice cabinet. You don't need all the bells and whistles. I like the bells and whistles, but it's not necessary per se. And I've had a lot of success using my own products and doing my own magic. And when it comes to money stuff, I mean, I've not for nothing, I've at least manifested at this point over the past 3 years, I've manifested the disappearance of about $100,000 of worth of debt that was written off that I didn't have to pay. Yeah, so maybe don't be rude. It's and I've only run into it once. Like when I am, I've only had issues with a couple times with other practitioners, and usually it was just, something that was a misunderstanding, or some people are just shitty. I mean, there was one years ago I bought some belladonna from, and to date, she acted like I was a complete artard because I didn't know that, dry measure, that she's the only one I've ever seen that sells things by dry measure, which is here's a cup of belladonna versus here's an ounce of belladonna. And so a cup is 8 ounces. So if I sold that cup as 8 ounces of belladonna, it's not actually 8 ounces weight of belladonna. It's just volume. So there's differences in how things are marketed. Like, this is something that is fine to do volume. This is an 8-ounce bottle. Volume is fine for stuff like this. For herbs, that is the only time I've ever seen anyone sell things that way. And she got all, like, because I asked, I was like, well, I this said an ounce, and, I weighed it, and it's only like, much, much less than, and it was very expensive what she was charging for it. Immediately got into, oh, well, I see. You just want to get something for free and you don't know what you're doing and blah, 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 blah. I'm like, hold up. I just asked a fucking question. And you're going to be rude. This fucking caustic to me from a basic question for clarity's sake. Wasn't asking for a refund. Wasn't asking anything. Just trying to understand why I thought I bought an ounce of something and got much, much less. And you know, whatever, live and learn. But yeah, I mean, most of the time people are fine. They'll answer your questions, and if there's, concerns. The only times, I mean, sometime I think there's a few times where things went missing, and the person was just uncommunicative with their Etsy shop. And there was like twice, I think, in my entire history of using Etsy that I've had to, open a case against a shop and get a refund, because I'm like, okay, gave you the benefit of the doubt that, you shipped this, and that, in the past 2 months, it may or may not should have arrived. It was during the pandemic, so I gave extra time because of the shipping delays and stuff like that. But, yeah. So, but if you don't respond to any of my messages and I haven't received my product, eventually I'm just going to be like, after I give you, an extra amount, and I'm pretty lenient with that. Like, I'll be like, okay, I know not everyone's going to respond to their inquiries like right now. But if you don't respond to it, I'm like, then the problem and the issue is resolved. I mean, and that I order a lot of stuff. I shop. I go to a lot of shops. I've gone to a lot of events and like trade show type things and crystal and gem expos. I buy a lot of crap, personally and professionally. So I see the gamut of things, and it just blows my mind when people just immediately default to being rude. It's usually through Amazon. Oh my God, like usually, but not for nothing. Amazon itself can pucker up and suck a tailpipe, but yeah. I mean, I have my own issues with Amazon, but generally speaking, like, I think people just can't differentiate that if they buy something on Amazon handmade, which obviously is not coming through cheap Chinese crap emporium and whatnot, that they are speaking to an actual human who makes the things. I'm not just buying bullshit to sell you. I'm not a scammer. I honestly, I don't even, I appreciate that people leave reviews on Etsy. I don't even know if I've ever looked at my Amazon reviews. I have no interest in it. I really don't look at my reviews. It's not that I don't value them or I don't care. I am neurodivergent. I have rejection sensitivity dysphoria. And if I read my reviews more than once every couple months, I would probably shut the business down, honestly. I would just be like, yeah, fuck it. This isn't worth it. Because at the end of the day, not really selling life-saving medications and devices here. Yeah. People sometimes just, again, unrealistic expectations, the Hollywood of it all, the devil made me do it of it all. I've been going on for about 40 minutes now. I haven't had a good rant in a while, but be kind, rewind. I don't know. It's just time to really move forward. I mean, if we're really looking towards moving towards spiritual awakening, we need to knock this petty bullshit stuff off, because it is an ugly look for all of us. Because I've got my shadows, I've got my things I need to work on. I am not without my own, issues and stuff. But anyways, I think that is probably on this subject matter all I have right now. Don't forget to click like and subscribe. Follow us on social media. Subscribe to our e-newsletter so you know what's going on, because our subscriber count keeps going up and our views are at an all-time low. I feel like I just started this channel because like half the videos aren't even getting 100 views at this point because the algorithms suck. Anyways, that's all. Love y'all. Mwah.